Rounding is a skill we use to make calculations or estimations easier. I use what's called a rounding hill in my class, and all that does is help to visualize which benchmark number your original number is closer to. So taking a number as simple as 17 and rounding it to the tens place. This 17, rounding to the tens place, either has to be closer to 10 or closer to 20. We look at our ones place at the 7 to decide if it's closer to 10 or closer to 20. Looking at my 7, I'm only 3 away from 20, but I'm 7 away from 10. So 20 is really a more accurate representation, and it would be my benchmark number. So that would be my round. 17 rounds to 20 at the tens place. You can use the same rounding hill, and a lot of times I just etch it out for myself, even with larger numbers. So taking 5,725, rounding to the thousands place. It's either between 5,000 or 6,000. And I'm again going to use my 7 in my hundreds place to visualize if my number is closer to 5,000 or closer to 6,000. Again, the 7 in the hundreds is only 3 hundreds away from the 6,000, but it's 7 hundreds away from the 5,000, meaning that 6,000 is really my more accurate benchmark number. Taking it up even higher, 64,327, rounded to the hundreds place. It would have to be closer to either 64,300, because you're looking at our hundreds place, or 64,400. I'm going to look at my tens place, that 2 in the tens, to tell me which hundred I'm closer to. I look at this side of the hill, and I can see that I'm only 2 tens away from 64,300, but I'm almost 7 tens away from 64,400. So when I round 64,327 to the hundreds place, my answer is going to be 64,300. Once you get accustomed to looking at a rounding hill and visualizing it almost as like a number line, and where your benchmark number is and where your original number is closer to on one side or the other, you can use a shortcut, which I call the boxing method. So let's say we take a number like 12,832, and we want to round that number to the 10,000s place. I box that number, and just like when you use your rounding hill, you look next door at your next place value, and you ask yourself, if it's 0, 1, 2, 3, or 4, it's really going to be closer to the 10,000. If it's 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9, it's really going to be closer to the 20,000. In this case, it's a 2, so we're going to keep the 1, and the rest of our places fill in with zeros. 12,832 is closer to 10,000 than it is to 20,000. We can take this same number, and we can round at a smaller place. Let's say we want to round to the hundreds. I can look at my 8, and instead of boxing just the 1 or just the 8, I'm going to box everything in front. Because when you regroup in the number 12,832, there are 128 hundreds. So I need to take a look at my hundreds place and look next door. That 3 really keeps me closer to my 8 than it does my 9. So my round, I'm going to keep the same. I'm going to put my 1, my 2, and my 8 down from the box because I'm not changing anything. And everything outside of my box changes to a 0. If I were rounding to the thousands place, 12,832. My thousands place is a 2, and I'm going to box my 1 and my 2 because I have 12 thousands in this number. And I look next door. That 8 really pushes me closer to 13,000. So I'm going to add 1 to my box. 12 plus 1 is 13. Everything outside of my box changes to a 0.